Grief before goodbye. The pain no one warned you about. Why does it hurt so much, even though they're still here? Why does grieving start before the loss actually happens? Why do we feel guilty for the tears that come too early? Why do our hearts feel like we're carrying a weight that never leaves us? If you're walking through a quiet, painful space of loving someone while their time on life in this life is short, you're not alone. This episode is for you. And I would also say, even if you're not in that space, this could be for you because this could be you someday.
Welcome to That Shit Doesn't Define You Stories of Hope, Season 4. This season, we're having the honest conversations that no one prepares you for. When you feel like you're failing, when caregiving drains you to your core, when your body stops cooperating under stress, if you're walking through a season that feels heavy, sacred, exhausting, or uncertain, you're not broken, and this season does not define you. Let's begin.
So I want to welcome you today, and I want to thank you guys for being part of this community. It's so fun when I get to go out and I'm speaking and I hear people saying how this podcast is making a difference in your life. We're so thankful for that. Thank you for being with us this season. I know this was a difficult season to unpack, but there are people hurting currently right now that need to hear this message. And I'm begging you, please like and subscribe. The people, in the social world require that of us to have any type of traction. But also, please comment. If you have comments or you want to go deeper in a subject, please put in the comments. We would love to talk to you. Or if you have ideas for shows, we'd love to hear. And most importantly, please share this with somebody. If you know somebody walking this difficult path, please share this with them. Be a light to them, be loving to them, and share this information. So thank you so much again for being here. We're going to dive deep this week. But Jada, man, we're almost like halfway through
I
season
know.
4.
We are halfway through. It's crazy. This is episode 5. We've only got 8 this season. So yeah, very, very surreal to be
I
halfway through the
know.
season already.
I will say this, you guys, interesting enough, we have marketing analytics consistently in our businesses, and we're always looking at, what is producing the most. And I got to tell you, this one's not making me any money, and it's not even doing a lot for my business, but we're doing it because we love you and we care and we want to get the message across. So please share this with people because this is a labor of love for us, and we care about you and we want people to realize that there's hope and that you're not alone. But today, Jada, I want to kind of dig in. I know we're going to talk. This season, I'm doing a lot because of the journey I'm on, doing a lot of talking about me. So I apologize for that. I hope I help make it relevant. But we're going to also help reframe it, and we'll still give the rubber meet the road. So we're still going to give you tactical, practical things to do because this is about transformation, not motivation. So very important there. That should be a new tagline for me. But
Information, not motivation.
transformation, not motivation, right?
I love
Um,
that.
I know, me too. I just made it up for me, but yes, I love it. I'm sure I heard it somewhere else is why I'm regurgitating it. But the real story, Jada and I were just talking before we even got on to the studio today that, and if you don't know, let me fill you in case you're like, what is she talking about? I have a daughter, Savannah, who just turned 21. And so that'll date this podcast, but she just turned 21. She's severe profound. What does that mean? Severe profound means that Savannah, um, in her particular case, doesn't walk, talk, still in diapers at 21 and developmentally delayed physical ailments. She's undiagnosed, which is extremely rare in the disability community. But more importantly, my daughter is tenacious, a cowgirl, strong, determined, a fighter, and one of the bravest people I know. And she has impacted the world without words. And so I'm very proud of her, extremely proud of her. But she currently, right now, her body is fading and it's giving up its fight because it's ready to get to go to heaven. And she's in hospice, and every day is a new day. We don't know if she's going to be here or not. And that's a difficult place to live. And that's why I wanted to do this season, maybe because it's cathartic for me. But as I'm also speaking to people, I'm finding out I'm not the only one. The other day, I was at the Capitol at Oklahoma, where I live, discussing with state representatives legislation and policy in regards to the disability community here in our state. Because obviously, I want to be an advocate and make change for people like my daughter and the people we love in our community. But as I'm sitting there in a room of other advocates, two other moms in that room have walked what I'm walking. So I know I'm not alone. And as I speak, people come up to me and they tell me as well. And it's different. It's not always a disability community. Today, I met a woman early this morning who lost her daughter to cancer. I've met people who've lost their children to at a speaking engagement just this week. A woman came up to me and said, "I watched my son kill himself with drugs, and it may be different than your situation, but I think it felt the same." So I just want to let you know, what we're talking about is not just a disability. That's my story, but how do we get through this? And I'm still getting through it. So I'm kind of talking through a wound, but I'm going to share what I do know so far. First of all, I have to talk about my faith. And I know this is not a religious podcast. And if you're turned off by faith, I apologize. I'm not trying to convert, I'm just telling my story. And my story is that without my relationship with Jesus Christ right now, I don't think I could stand. I don't think that I could survive a day thinking about my daughter, never seeing my daughter again without my faith. So my faith in this journey has been paramount for me. Now I have other friends that are of different faith, Muslim, Buddhism, and they rely on their faiths as well. But for me, it's absolutely Jesus Christ. I couldn't do it without him. And I have felt him. I feel him holding me up. And but beyond my faith, which is obviously pinnacle to this is, some of the things that I'm learning in this season is this is not the season, Jada, where people come to me and say everything happens for a reason, right? This is not the time to say that. I'm not saying that's not true, but this is, you guys, currently right now, I'm living in a situation where I am, and I'm getting really transparent here, where I'm holding my daughter and she's giving me she's gotten so affectionate as she's gotten closer to heaven, and she's giving me these hugs, and I just can feel her body, and if you're a parent, I want you to just imagine what it feels like to hold your little, right? Or your big little, right? There always are littles even when they get old, and you're hugging them, and you just feel their life, you feel the affection, you feel the love, and I'm holding her and I feel that. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm days, if weeks, maybe months, depending on her and God, but away from not ever getting to feel that again. Then that, I gotta tell you, floors you. Then for the next moment to see that person in pain and suffering, and you think to yourself, I can't wait for that suffering to be over for you. And those 2 emotions are functioning at the same time. The "I don't wanna stop feeling your embrace" to "I don't want you to be in pain anymore," and yet you're in this limbo of grief. They're not gone, but you're grieving they're going, but you're appreciating them here. And it is a mind-boggling experience, to say the least. I have learned from her hospice team that it is a complicated season for anyone who's ever walked this, this is the hard part, especially when they have good days and bad days, because you're like, "Oh," and then you're like, "Oh, oh, oh," right? And so you're wrestling with crying and then being excited, being selfish and grieving for yourself, and then it's just a whole world of emotion. So how do you do it? Well, and again, my faith, right? But the other thing is leaning into, and I know this sounds, but in this very difficult place also, leaning into the beauty of this circumstance. And yes, I'm saying that, the beauty of watching my daughter fade. There's beauty in it in the sense that every minute I get with her is beautiful. Every hug, every smile, every laugh, every experience. And if you have a loved one going through the same thing, if in this very difficult season of transition, if we can use that to treasure all of the moments and reflect on the little things, I think it can be transformative. It can help you have gratitude and thankfulness in a storm that is also crushing. Some days I wake up, and Jada can contest to this. I am a fairly resilient person. This has tested even my resilience. There are days where I get up and I don't want to get up. I
Mm.
don't want to. I am tired to the core. Uh, I have never been this tired in my entire life. I can honestly say this. The only time, Jada, I have ever felt more tired than this is when I had 8 emboli in my lungs and I couldn't breathe. And
When
I was
you're on
in
the
the hospital
doorstep
on
of death.
oxygen, because I've never been, I mean, seriously, I'm and it's emotional, right? That's why. But it doesn't mean that I don't have faith. It doesn't mean that I'm not thankful. It doesn't mean that I can't continue. I've created an entire course in the business world about how to keep momentum going from this because of it. But I think what is important is that I want people to realize I don't want us to shame ourselves. Can you hear me? You're going to feel the feelings of, I wish, and I know people are going to judge me, but you know what? Judge away. Go ahead. You're going to have those moments where you're like, I wish they would go so they're not in pain anymore. And you're going to feel shame and guilt about that. You're going to have moments where you're like, God, why are you taking them? Why is this so hard? And then you're going to have guilt and shame about that. And you're just bouncing like a pinball. And you want to ask God why. The universe, if you're not a Christ follower, why? But here's what I've learned. It's okay to ask the why. It's okay to go to God and say, why? What can I learn? This is hard for me. I think this is something I've really learned, Jada, that for me and my faith, God is not afraid of me coming to him and saying, I'm exhausted to the bone. I'm watching my little girl pass in front of me, and this is really hard. He's okay with that. There's nothing sacrilegious about that. There's nothing sacrilegious about me sitting down with a friend and saying, this is the hardest thing I've ever done, and this is crushing. You can be transparent and honest and real while you also, and have no shame about that. And I really want to talk, just for a second, you Christians out there, hey, I'm really talking to you because this whole like you can't feel because you are, stop. We're humans. Christ died for us so that we could feel and still have grace. You got me? You got me? So this pharisaical, like, we've got to be perfect and have it all together. Why did Jesus die for me then? Hello. He died for me because he knew I wouldn't be strong enough. He knew I wouldn't be perfect. He knew I would struggle with shame. He knew I would struggle with sin. He knew, and he knew that I couldn't do this without him. That's why he did it. There's nothing special about me. So don't put that pressure on people that they have to be. No, I don't. I only have to lean into him and he'll do it for me. And I can have moments of weakness and it doesn't mean my faith isn't strong. It just means I'm human. You hearing me? And for those of you who don't believe in God, I just got to tell you, same applies to you. The world that says you just got to buck it up. You got to be enough. You got to be strong enough. You got to, you got to, you got to. Sometimes you just ain't. I know that was not good English. I'm just saying anyway, because it makes a point. Sometimes you just ain't. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not enough. It's why I have my faith. And I have an atheist friend that's like, "That's just your crutch." Well, I'll use it. Dang it. I'm gonna use it because here's the thing. We need to understand it's okay to feel all of the emotions and still walk through it. What I don't want any of us to do is lose those beautiful, thankful gratitude moments in the pain. I don't want you to lose those. I don't want to lose those. I don't want to be so grabbed with grief, even though I am, that I can't focus on the laughter, the smile. And I don't want you to too. And we can make a metaphor, Jada, of this of our entire lives.
Yeah.
It doesn't just have to be somebody passing or you watching somebody slip into addiction or just watching somebody allow their life to crumble. All of those things cause grief when you love someone. And we can feel the emotion of the grief and we can still have grace for them. We can still love them. We can still admire beautiful things and pull out the gratitude and thankfulness of that experience. That's a life changing, that's transformational. That's transformational. And I think it's really important that, I'm doing a lot of talking about faith in this one only because I love you, Christians. We both love Jesus, but we got to have more grace. And I'm not saying grace to the point where, we get to do whatever we want. That's not that's not real grace. I'm talking about humility and love and giving grace to yourself. I want to wrap up before you kind of name this, kind of what
Yeah.
can happen, Jada. I want to wrap this up with a concept that I have really come up with. And Jaden, I just shared this with her yesterday. So be on the lookout. I definitely will be doing this. One of the things that I have done during this period of time is when people, very kind people, say very nice things to me to try to make me feel better. And if you're not watching this on YouTube, I'm doing quotes in the air as I say these words. Because when your child is passing or somebody in your life is going through addiction or they're just making bad choices, people come to you and say some things and they think it's out of the kindness of their heart. And I'm learning, here's what I'm learning. I don't think they're malicious. I think 99% of the time, Jada, they're not being malicious. I think they're trying to be helpful. But their helpful is coming through a filter of their own brokenness and their own inability to comprehend. But what if we stopped being so judgmental? This is something that I'm learning. I'm like, what if you stop being so judgmental of the kind, I'm quoting, kind things these kind people are saying, quote, quote. So I started writing them down. And I'm writing them down, one, to let them go and just be like, okay, I'm gonna let that go. But also because when this journey is over for me, I'm gonna create, maybe it's just an ebook, but a book about the things that were said and alternative things to say. And
Yeah,
way to love
how-to
people
guide
that
to
what?
yeah,
Go ahead.
like a how-to guide for how
Yeah.
to love someone that's grieving.
Mhm. For real, because I don't think people know. And the other thing too is, like, how do you love somebody in this situation? Because our friends have gotten very quiet. Not because they don't love us, because they don't know what to do, and we've talked about this already on this podcast, but, so there's some, just awareness, just putting it out there. But all of that came back, like me circle back, I'm digressing here, to grace. If I have learned anything in this season with my beautiful girl, is to have grace for myself. I make more mistakes. I'm tired. I'm not on my top of my game as much. I have emotional swings, and I'm giving myself grace because I'm human. And it doesn't make me weak. It just makes me normal. And it's allowed me, because I'm offering myself that grace, to extend grace. And if you don't give yourself grace, it's hard to give it out. So I came up with this for one of my coaching clients, but I'm using it in my speeches and thinking about it in my own life more. And that is having a cloak of grace. I just want you to think imagery here. You're about to walk out your door for the day and you take a cloak and you put it on. Now, I'm always about take the cloaks off because we don't want to label, but this is different. Put a cloak on and it guards your heart. And so when somebody does something to you or says something to you when you're grieving and hurting, it just bounces off the cape, and that cape just allows you to have grace for them. That's a great place to live. It's freeing. And when you're going through extreme trauma, it's a great way to protect yourself. But I want you to hear me right now. If you're struggling, I also don't want you to have shame. I want you to have grace for yourself. I want you to have grace. I'll leave with this, and then we'll get to the rubber meets the road and renaming. I gave a part of my speech. I said this recently, and a mom who lost her son to addiction came to me and said, "A lot of people have told me to have grace that I couldn't save him. Grace for him, grace for the people who gave him the drugs." And she was crying and she said, "Until you explained it like that, it didn't hit me." Now, that's not saying Athena's amazing in that speech. What I'm saying is we need to hear this. It wasn't the first time she's heard about grace for herself and others, but we need to hear it over and over again so that we can actually apply it. And I just want to, Jada does a lot of studying on psychology. I'm not saying grace without boundaries, but I am saying grace. And it's something really important that I've learned in this period. I've never had to offer myself so much grace to be human and to not always have it all together. Um, and that uh, emotions are real. The only difference is I can't let them drive the bus of my life. That's the difference. So Jada, how do we name this? What do we do with this? And then obviously we'll do some reframing, and then I'm going to do some rubber meet the road here.
Totally. Well, before I get into like the naming the shame and the reframing it, I just want to speak to those people that maybe it's not a family member or maybe it's not your kid that you're grieving that's still alive. Maybe it's someone close to you, and I can speak from experience in that is it's really hard to grieve a relationship that could still be intact but isn't meeting um a healthy relationship in that sense. And so I think there's a lot of grief in grieving people that are still alive for good reason, but it still hurts and it's hard. And you grieving isn't like a one time thing. It's like over and over and over. And especially when you're grieving someone you're in close relationship with, is another event comes up that you maybe want to share with that person or you maybe want to talk to that person about, and it's just not that relationship's not there. And so um, I think that can also be hard, and so I just wanna speak to anyone that is experiencing that maybe you've set boundaries and you're grieving a relationship with a friend or, a sibling or a parent, and, like, that can be hard, and so I just wanna acknowledge that too. Um
Thank you for that because you're absolutely right. I honestly think sometimes, at least I have, and I'm going to say this, I'm not trying to compare traumas, but at least I have an end date.
mm,
When you're grieving somebody who's fully capable of having a relationship, but it can't be healthy. I have one of those in my life. Those are hard. Those are
yeah,
really hard
yeah,
because they're hard. It's very difficult. So, but the same applies.
yeah, definitely. So going into naming the shame, I do wanna just, throw out some things that maybe if you're struggling with this, maybe you've said to yourself, maybe you've thought, maybe you've heard other people say. And so naming that shame is some things that people say are good Christians don't doubt. And that's not true.
No.
Sometimes you may say, if I were more faithful, this wouldn't hurt or this wouldn't happen. And that's not true. Another thing that people say is maybe I'm not praying hard enough or maybe I'm not praying enough.
Mm.
And that's
I'm
hard.
all for prayer, but
Yeah.
not the shaming kind.
Not the shaming kind.
Yeah.
And the Bible is full of people that have lamented, people that have expressed their righteous anger, people that are confused, people that have grieved. I think a couple examples of that is David screamed, Job questioned, and Jesus wept. And something that I just go back to a lot, it's in Luke. And again, this is not a Christian podcast, but I feel like it's worth sharing in this is Jesus speaking to God said, Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done. And I think that that brings me immense peace just in seasons of trial. And it's not my will that life is hard. It's not any of our will that life is hard, but God can create beauty from pain. And so I just share that to say, like, Jesus wept with us. He wept with other people that were not Christians. And so, anyways, I say that to say their things are normal. And there's not shame around that. And so pain doesn't cancel your faith. I think it deepens it. And then reframing what faith really actually is, it's again, it's not pretending, it's not constant positive thinking, it's not forcing the gratitude. It really what it is it's showing up when life is hard, telling the truth when it's hard,
Mhm.
staying when it hurts, staying in that, and then just trusting even when you don't understand what's happening. So, simply put, you can say something like, God, I don't get this, but I'm still here. And I think that Athena, I'm sure that that resonates with your season right now. You may not get it, but you are still there.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. Again, this particular podcast is a little bit more faith-based,
Mhm.
but you can apply it to your own. We're just sharing ours, and
Absolutely.
you're absolutely right. I'm gonna say, so just as the rubber meets the road, you guys, these come from my heart. So take them for what they are, but they're things that I am really using and they're helping me survive. And number 1, and Jada, this is a byproduct. You and I have talked a lot, we're close. Um, this season, the last 18 months, and then now even harder as she's been on hospice. Well, let me just have you seen me change?
Mhm.
It's transformational.
Yep.
Now, am
I
I
just
changing for the worse or the better? You can be honest. Don't worry, listener, she would be anyway.
I think you're changing for the better in your heart and in your personal, just journey.
Mhm. Not so good in the business. I'll work on that, but
No,
something's
there is
gotta
a cloak
give.
of grace to go around, and the only thing is, Athena, and you've talked about this too on probably on this podcast at some point, your elephant brain is just not there right now.
No, my memory is not as good as it used to be, but it'll come back. It will come back.
But everything else is you're amazing
Oh,
and you're resilient,
I'm like,
so
man. But one of the things that I really have learned in this is honest prayers. Okay. And I'm always been a person of faith. I love my prayer time. But I got, yes, we have the Lord's Prayer. But then I'm like, I don't know if, I think he wants a relationship. I don't think he needs me to come to him every day. And I don't think he wants me to, treat him like a genie in a bottle. I don't think he's into that. Nor do I think he wants me to come and only be selfish. I don't think he's into that. I think he wants me to come and be honest. And so rubber meets the road. Number 1, just be honest with yourself, with the people you trust around you, and in your prayers. Couple of days recently, I usually have a pretty good prayer time, lengthy time, and I didn't have the energy. And you know what? I just went to him and said, Lord, you know how I feel. I'm tired, and you know what I need. I don't need to say it again. And so I literally said, help me be a light for you today. Help me to be a salt to the earth today. Give me the energy to get through and help me to honor you. That's it. That's all I had. He met me where I was at. And it doesn't have to be formalized. It could be in the middle of anything. You can have a little prayer. Just stop and say, help me not be angry. Help me to see the good. Help me to see the beauty. Hold my tears. I think it's time we understand that prayer can be intimate and honest. And I've really learned that in this period of time to allow myself just honest, not be afraid to go to him to the truth. And even if that's mad or sad or whatever, he can handle it. I remember one time a couple months ago, Savannah was having a really bad episode. And after she calmed down, I walked into the living room from her bedroom, Jada, and I like just screamed at him. That was my prayer. I was having it out with him. I promise you, if he was in the room, he probably would have just walked up to me, hugged me, and said, I get it. I get it. So just being honest. Number two, borrowing faith when yours feels small. This is really critical. When you are going through grief or hardship, there is a tendency to want to isolate and feel alone and feel like you've got to be strong enough, good enough, the enough stuff, you right? And we were created as humans for community. No matter what your faith is, we are created for community, not separation. And so it's okay in those times to allow people to pray with you, allow people to sit with you, allow people to love on you. Listen to worship music, listen to music that uplifts you, read the Psalms, read your Bible, read meditation, take a walk, let the sun hit you, go out in nature, steal energy from nature. It's okay to need to pull from others and or other resources in these times. It's absolutely okay and it's necessary. You don't have to be strong every day. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to be isolated. And matter of fact, you were never designed for that. Either am I. So really think about that and ask yourself, where are you going to borrow that faith and that strength from? And that's okay. And one thing, just a side note, I've learned in this season is you're blessing the people. People you're allowing in, the people that you're doing life with in this difficult seasons, the ones that you trust to walk, you honor them, you build their faith, and they're rewarded emotionally and spiritually as well. So, really important to understand it is mutually beneficial. You're not just sucking from somebody. Number 3, look for God in all the small places. And I gotta tell you, I've always said, look at life and look at your manna. Every day, wake up and look. And manna is just food that God fed the Israelites um, during the 40 years they were in the wilderness, and it was substance and all they needed. And so I always have said, like, if you open our eyes every day and look for goodness, look for the manna, look for beauty, you'll find it.
Mhm.
You'll find it. Even in the roughest times, you'll see it. And it's not miracles, you guys. It's not, people think it's got to be big miracles. Hey, I'm all for down for some of those. But that's not where it's. I'll tell you where I have found it. I have found it, and these are real stories. After a hospice nurse, I had to have a conversation with her late in an evening because some things were happening with my daughter, and it really hit me hard. And I get a text from a friend that I hadn't spoken to in a couple of months that says, God told me to stop right now and pray for you. She had no idea. Or when I wake up in the morning and I have 3 different friends send me songs to listen to, or somebody sends me a scripture verse for the day. It doesn't, those things, they're not miracles, although I think they're a little bit, because God is using his community to love on me even from afar. But it's beauty. The other thing is, it could be something. I know this sounds really silly, but it could be little things like when my husband and I got the opportunity to go away for the first time in several years for our anniversary, and it just happened to be literally one of the best days in San Diego in a February in years. That's beautiful. Treasure those things. Could be a
Mm.
sunset, it could be, laughter, a smile. It could be anything, but you've gotta be looking for it, and you've gotta be open to it. God whispers to ordinary people in ordinary places. He's always around trying to get our attention. And if you don't believe in God, I'm telling you, just open your eyes. You'll see the world around you is bringing goodness to you, but we've gotta open our eyes and we've gotta be willing to see it. We've gotta be looking for it even in where we're in absolute pain. And I would say when we're in pain, we need to be looking for it even more than normal. So again, you guys, thank you for sharing my heart, letting me be so vulnerable. I hope that you can take this away, share this with somebody else. I hope that you can see, like what Jada was saying, there's relevance to not just my situation, but to many situations where we find ourselves walking in grief.
Mhm.
Jada, I know you have something to kind of wrap this up for us to kind of clean up my wanderings.
I have a couple things, just a couple things to yap about, but no, but seriously, faith isn't going to remove the storm, but it does give you an anchor inside of it. You don't have to understand everything. You just have to stay. And if all you have today is a God, I'm angry, or God, please help, then that's enough. He hears you. You're not walking this alone, and this season of life doesn't define you. If you did enjoy this podcast, you found it helpful, or if you know someone that would find it helpful, we would love for you to share it with them. Again, we don't monetize on this, but we would love for you to like and subscribe so that you can continue joining us here. The algorithms require us to say that so that you
Yep.
can see us again. And then if you did enjoy this podcast again, please share it. You can find us just about on any streaming platform. Just search Athena Captain. You can also search Athena Captain on Google. She does have a pretty unique name, so you're bound to find us if you want to find us on social media or the internet. Our season 4 resource guide is going to be linked in the show notes, as well as Athena's book launch pre order list. So if you don't want to miss the opportunity to get those extra resources in a discounted pre-sale price, run over there, get yourself on the list. And again, this is not your practice life. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Start messy, start scared, just start, because nothing's going to change until you do. So take one step today toward the life that you want and dare to share it with us. We'll be here with you, standing with you every step of the way. We'll see you next
Thank you
week.
guys. Thank you.